My friends, what a night in Philadelphia. The crowd at Lincoln Financial Field could feel it before the first snap, that something special was brewing. The Eagles didn't just beat the New York Giants, they sent a message. A 38-20 win, and more importantly, the kind of performance that makes every fan in this city believe this team has finally found its rhythm again. Since the return of those iconic Kelly green uniforms, this team hasn't lost a single game. Look good, feel good, that's the motto, and for the first time all season, they looked every bit the contender people expected them to be. So smash that like button and, if you can, drop a comment telling me what you thought about tonight. After a convincing win over Minnesota last week, Philadelphia carried that momentum right into this one. The offense was electric. Jalen Hurts was locked in from the start, precise, calm, and commanding. The running game, flat-out dominant. Saquon Barkley and rookie Tank Bigsby combined for a ground performance that was as punishing as it was poetic. The two backs balanced each other perfectly, Barkley with the burst and finesse, Bigsby with that relentless, bruising style. And the defense? They finally looked like themselves again. The pass rush came alive. Jix Hunt has found another gear, and the secondary smothered New York from start to finish. But what made this win sweeter wasn't just the score. It was payback. 2 weeks ago, the Giants embarrassed the Eagles on Thursday Night Football. Philadelphia looked soft, and the Giants acted like they just won the Super Bowl. Players like Jackson Dart and Cam Skattebo celebrated that night like it was a championship parade. And believe me, the Eagles noticed. Saquon Barkley even admitted afterward that seeing those celebrations lit a fire under this team. When they went back and watched the tape of that loss, they saw a version of themselves they didn't even recognize. Soft, disconnected, unfocused. That wasn't who they are. And on Sunday, they made sure to remind everyone what Philadelphia football really looks like. The revenge tour started immediately. On just the second play of the game, Barkley ripped off a 65-yard touchdown run that had echoes of his NFC Championship heroics from years ago. The crowd erupted. It was the statement the team needed. It set the tone. And while Barkley later left briefly with a groin issue, he was confident afterward that it wouldn't keep him out against the Packers in Week 10. But by that point, the damage was already done. The Eagles had found their swagger again. Hurts was nearly perfect. 15 completions on 20 attempts, 179 yards, for touchdowns, no interceptions, and a passer rating of 141.5. He wasn't just efficient, he was surgical. Every throw had purpose, every drive had control. And for anyone who still doubts whether Jalen Hurts belongs among the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, nights like this should settle it. He carried the offense last week against Minnesota and did it again here, even without key players like A.J. Brown and Cam Jurgens. He spread the ball around beautifully. DeVonta Smith, Jahan Dotson, Dallas Goedert, Barkley, and even Xavier Gibson all got their moments. That's what makes this offense so dangerous when it's clicking. They can hit you from anywhere. And then there's Tank Bigsby. Remember when people were crushing Howie Roseman for trading 2 draft picks for him? They said he couldn't handle kick returns, couldn't field punts, wasn't worth the investment. Well, Bigsby just silenced every one of those critics. 9 carries, 104 yards, and an 11.6 yards per carry average, including a ridiculous 17-yard run late in the game where he broke free from a pile that looked like a sure tackle for loss. His running style, powerful, slippery, legs churning through contact, even drew comparisons to Jay Ajayi. Suddenly, that trade looks a lot smarter. Defensively, this team was relentless. Jackson Dart was running for his life all afternoon. The Eagles racked up 5 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, and close to 20 pressures. They lived in the Giants' backfield. And while everyone's still calling for another pass rusher at the trade deadline, and that's probably still on Howie's radar, the truth is, the unit finally looks like it's rounding into form. With Jix Hunt heating up, Nolan Smith and Brandon Graham set to return, and a front that's already this disruptive, it's starting to look like the kind of defense that can carry a playoff run. But it wasn't just talent, it was coaching. Vic Fangio called a masterful game defensively, while Kevin Patullo on offense opened the playbook in a way we hadn't seen all year. There was creativity everywhere. Motion, misdirection, gap scheme runs, play action from under center, even halfback screens that had perfect timing. It's what Eagles fans have been begging for: unpredictability. Patullo, often criticized early in the year, looked like he was in his bag this time. You could tell this team has started to find its identity, and that's something Nick Sirianni has preached since he arrived. Don't peak too early, build through the season, and hit your stride when it matters most. It feels like that's exactly what's happening right now. Even the trenches looked better. Landon Dickerson, who's been battling through some injuries, threw a monster block on Barkley's early touchdown run. The line wasn't perfect. Hurts was sacked 4 times, but they held up against one of the best defensive fronts in football. That's progress, especially given how banged up this group has been. Of course, no game between Philly and New York is complete without some controversy. Giants fans are already flooding social media claiming the officiating was rigged. But let's be honest, there were bad calls on both sides. The Cam Skattebo touchdown that should have been called back because Nakobe Dean was blatantly tackled? Missed. The so-called strip sack by the Eagles that officials ruled an incomplete pass? Questionable at best. And the OPI on Darius Slayton? Sure, maybe that one could have gone either way. But to act like the referees handed Philly this win is laughable. The Eagles dominated every phase of the game. You don't rack up 427 yards of offense and 5 sacks because of the refs. You do it because you're the better football team. So here we are, the Eagles head into the bye at 6-2, with momentum back on their side and their confidence restored. The NFC is wide open, and if this version of the Eagles shows up in the second half of the season, every contender in the conference needs to take notice. They're healthier, sharper, and finally playing the brand of football fans in this city demand. Because that's the real test, isn't it? It's not just about beating up a division rival when emotions are high and the crowd is roaring. It's about carrying that same fire and precision into every week that follows. This bye couldn't have come at a better time for the Eagles. A chance to heal up, regroup, and sharpen their focus for what's waiting on the other side. A trip to Lambeau Field to face the Green Bay Packers. That's a matchup with real weight, both for the NFC playoff picture and for this team's identity. Right now, the locker room feels different. You can sense it. The swagger that was missing a few weeks ago is back. Players were laughing, yelling, and celebrating after the game, not just because they beat New York, but because they dominated them the way great teams are supposed to. It wasn't luck, and it wasn't a fluke. It was the kind of win that shows who you are when your back's against the wall. Saquon Barkley said it best in his post-game interview, that seeing the Giants celebrate a few weeks ago lit a fire under this team. It wasn't just about pride, it was about standards. Philadelphia doesn't play soft football, and you could see that in every hit, every run, every defensive stop. When Barkley exploded for that 65-yard touchdown, it wasn't just a highlight, it was a statement. The Eagles were done being pushed around. And it wasn't only the stars who made it happen. Tank Bigsby, the rookie everyone doubted, stepped up when the team needed him most. His balance and strength brought a different energy to the backfield. DeVonta Smith and Dallas Goedert made key catches in traffic. The defense played with a unity that's been missing since the start of the year. You could tell the communication was crisp, the safeties were flying downhill, the linebackers were filling gaps, and the front four looked like the monsters we remember from the Super Bowl run. Now, credit where it's due, Vic Fangio has been phenomenal. The way he mixed coverages, disguised pressures, and neutralized the Giants' quick passing game was textbook. And on offense, Kevin Patullo deserves his flowers too. For the first time this year, you could see real rhythm and creativity. He put Jalen Hurts under center more often, ran deceptive play-action passes, and used motion to stretch the defense. It wasn't flashy just to be flashy, it was smart, disciplined football that kept New York guessing all night. Even the mistakes, the missed calls, the fumbles, the controversial spots, couldn't derail this team's focus. They were locked in from start to finish, something that hasn't been said much this season. And while Giants fans were quick to cry about officiating, anyone who watched that game objectively saw one thing. The Eagles simply outclassed them in every phase. And let's talk about Jalen Hurts one more time. You could feel it, his command, his poise, his leadership. He's gone from being questioned to being the reason this team is where it is. Over the last 2 weeks, he's thrown 7 touchdown passes and no interceptions. His decision-making is sharper, his reads are quicker, and his accuracy is undeniable. When he's playing at this level, the entire offense feeds off it. As for Howie Roseman, it's funny how fast things change in this city. A week ago, fans were questioning his trades, wondering why he brought in Bigsby or didn't move faster on the secondary. Now, the same moves that were doubted are starting to make sense. Bigsby's energy has transformed the ground game, and with reinforcements like Nolan Smith and Brandon Graham set to return after the bye, the defense could be getting a mid-season boost just when it needs it most. That's the thing about Philadelphia, the ups and downs come fast. One week, people are ready to burn it down. The next, the city's electric with hope. But maybe that's what makes this fan base so unique. They feel every snap, every mistake, every breakthrough. And right now, you can feel something building again. This wasn't just a win. It was a reminder of who they are, what they're capable of, and what it takes to be a contender in this league. The Eagles are 6-2 heading into the bye, sitting in a wide-open NFC, and suddenly they look like one of the most dangerous teams in football again. So as we head into this next stretch, the question isn't whether the Eagles can keep this up, it's whether they will. Because if they play with the same energy, balance, and purpose they've shown the last 2 weeks, there's no ceiling for this team. The schedule gets tougher, the spotlight gets brighter, but that's exactly when Philadelphia tends to rise. Fly, Eagles, fly. This team just might be taking off again. If you believe this was the turning point of the season, hit that like button, drop your take in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. We've got more coverage coming your way, and you won't want to miss it. See you in the next video, and as always, go Birds. And as the echoes of that win still hang in the air, you can't help but think about what lies ahead. The bye week isn't just a pause, it's a reset button, a moment for this team to heal, to refine the edges, and to prepare for a brutal stretch of games that will define their season. Green Bay, Dallas, San Francisco, the kind of matchups that test everything, depth, discipline, and heart. But for once, it feels like Philadelphia is heading into that storm with confidence instead of questions. Jalen Hurts is leading with quiet authority. The locker room is tighter, the chemistry visible. Veterans like Jason Kelce, Fletcher Cox, and Brandon Graham, guys who've been through every possible war in midnight green, have been the steadying hands guiding this roster through its early turbulence. And now, you can sense they see something familiar brewing again. That 2017 energy, that mix of belief and defiance that made the world doubt and made Philadelphia rise. Saquon Barkley has become more than a headline acquisition, he's a symbol of that grit. The way he runs, the way he talks, the way he refuses to back down, it fits this city perfectly. Tank Bigsby's emergence has given the offense new life. DeVonta Smith is quietly having one of the most efficient stretches of his career, and the defense, under Fangio's command, is beginning to play with a confidence that could carry deep into January. The fans feel it too. Lincoln Financial Field isn't just loud, it's alive again. That roar when Barkley broke loose, that surge when Hurts threw his 4th touchdown, the way the crowd stood for Cam Skatebo.